Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you in another video. All right, so it's a very, very, very interesting day in the NBA right now. Even though a lot has been going on in my world, I still keep my ear to the streets of the NBA. And honestly, things are shaping up very strangely in the Western Conference right now. Kevin Durant just went down with an ankle yesterday in a freak accident. Actually, he stepped on what was looked like a wet spot, I guess they said. With maybe it was some type of just freak ankle twist. I don't know if it was wet or not because when I looked at it, it kind of just looked like he stepped into the ankle injury. Didn't even look like a slip. It just looked like he stepped into it, like as if his ankle gave way. But he was able to get up and kind of like step off, or off of it. It wasn't like he stayed on the ground or anything like that. But for what they're saying now, they fear it's a grade 2 ankle sprain that could keep him out for the remainder of the season. Now, I don't know if that means including playoffs or not. They didn't say, but that is unbelievably devastating for him, of course, for Phoenix, obviously, and I wish him, obviously a speedy recovery and prayers out for sure. You got Luka Doncic going down with some type of injury as well. He pulled up with looked like some type of thigh injury or non-contact. I don't know, but he said it wasn't good. He's gonna miss time for certain. Uh, it's just a lot of stuff happening right now, and you look up and you realize, the West is wide open. You see the New Orleans Pelicans. Zion's gonna be out again. From what I understand, there's some type of setback with him. He could miss multiple weeks, which is basically the rest of the regular season. It's like, my God, what happened? Bi, from what I understand, rolled his ankle yesterday. That was madness as well, adding to the injury concerns. So um, I'm looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think Carl is actually set to stay out as well. I don't think he's expected to come back. It's like, my goodness, man. This is a weird year. And then you go over and look at Golden State. Even though they're getting Steph back, they haven't been able to win on the road at all. Basically, all season long. I think they've won 7 games on the road, which is really strange. Uh, the Clippers, they're finding ways to win basketball games. But if you watch their game last night, Fred VanVleet basically said that they were cheated out of the basketball game. I didn't see highlights of that or nothing, but he went on a cursing tirade, essentially saying that he does not like how certain officials officiate this game. And basically, second stuff I've been saying that the way the game is played right now, we've lost what we are. We've lost what it is we're about. In terms of the integrity of the game, it's just all about um, handling officiating a certain way. And so I don't want to paraphrase too much in regards to what he was saying, but as far as myself, I just don't like how things are going right now. And I've said it many times on this camera that I just think they're trying to increase the scores and they're manipulating the games by way of the officiating and various other ways they can do it, affecting tempo and things of that nature. So yeah, that's what I want to say. That Clipper game left a lot of questions as well in regards to everything. So the West has just been very, very active with injuries and controversies and all kinds of other stuff. So, um, you know, if most people have already heard about Sean Kemp and his shooting incident 2 weeks after the Ja Morant thing, not even 2 weeks, I don't know what's going on with the NBA world, man. But we keep pushing on. Um, so yeah, I just want to kind of take a look at my team in terms of the Los Angeles Lakers and just say, we have a real opportunity here. If D'Angelo Russell's supposed to be coming back against those same Raptors, so I know Fred VanVleet, if he doesn't get suspended for what he said, I'm certain he's getting fined heavily. In fact, I don't think I've heard anyone go at the referees like that before. Called one out specifically and then proceeded to cuss, like heavily cuss, but very calmly. It's interesting stuff if you watch it there. I actually appreciated it quite a bit. But it's one of those things where it's like, if he plays, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be fired up. He's gonna be especially ready to play against the LA Lakers, and that is a very talented player. So, him having bulletin board material that don't have anything to do with us, we're gonna have to pay attention to him because he has been slumping all season long. So maybe that continues. But the way that he was looking on that press conference, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be in an especially interesting mood when he plays us tomorrow. So that's somebody I'm looking at, circled on the bulletin board as a Laker fan. Um, What else is going on, man? A lot of people are having conversations about whether or not they think we're contenders or not. Um, I think that the fact that we've been able to withstand injury tells me that uh, if we were to get everybody back, we're definitely a team that's going to be difficult to beat, depending on how we rotate the roster. And I say, I think our coach does certain things that cater to losing, but I think Anthony Davis does things that mask mistakes. And so what we're seeing is a fusion of that, and Anthony Davis is overpowering it, in my humble opinion. And I think the changes we've made to the roster have kind of slimmed down some of the mistakes that Darvin can make. But ultimately, I do think that it'll probably he will end up costing us something. I think that if we do lose, I'm afraid that it would be because of him. And that's just because of stuff that I've seen all season long. But we're winning right now. The team is good, in fact, very good. And health is going to tell the story of how far we can go. And seeding is going to be interesting as well, depending on who we play and the path we take. Because if we get the right path, we can probably get to the dang finals, to be honest with you, if we're healthy. But if we get the wrong path, we could be going in the first round just the same, especially if we're not. So that's kind of what I'm looking at with the Lakers. I wouldn't necessarily bet on us winning the championship or nothing like that, but I am cautiously optimistic, or rather just optimistic is the word, that this team could do some extreme damage to really all teams left available. I just don't. I think it's not that we match up great with everybody. It's just that we have extreme players. You know what I mean? When you talk about LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they don't need as much talent around them as they now have to win a championship most seasons, to be honest with you. And I look at the field, I look at some of these teams, and I look at these injuries that we just discussed, and I'm not afraid of anybody out west if they're not fully healthy. The Sacramento Kings are a dangerous basketball club, but they haven't really seen us since we made these trades, and I think we match up better with them, now that we've made them. Now, I have gone on record as of early as yesterday saying that I don't really want to match up with them. I prefer to avoid them, to be honest, because I do think they're as good as they appear to be. In fact, I didn't have them being as good as they are, but I did have them being the breakout team of the season or at the beginning of the year. But, they've exceeded my expectations fully. And I just understand that perimeter defense has been a struggle for us, and perimeter shooting is a strength for them. And they have some of the other elements that also make it difficult for them to be matched up with on our end. So that's one team I look forward to seeing in further rounds than the first round. It looks like we could match up with them in the first round. And I think most people hope we do, thinking that we're going to run them over. And I just know better. I took a good look at how they were winning games throughout the season. I took a look at their schedule, and they've been winning. That's an actually good team, and I don't know how far it can really go for a team like that. But I remember a team like the Atlanta Hawks, when maybe about 10 years ago, when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting from the Sacramento team. It's like you haven't seen them play well before. You didn't, You've known of them as a miss the playoff kind of squad, but once they get that good team and they've been good all year long, they get to the playoffs. That kind of doesn't slow down. And as I've told people about SAC, they have so many players that they use in rotation, which is why they're as good as they are, because they have about 30 or 40 players that they use throughout the season, keeping each other fresh. So I don't think that changes, although that could be interesting in the playoffs depending on who they use in their benches. But all in all, if De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and those guys are healthy, they are for real. They really are. Keegan Murray is an extra special rookie. Harrison Barnes, and he can do a lot of damage on both ends of the floor. Malik Monk coming off the bench, playing the way that he is. He really is as talented as he looks. He's ridiculously talented. As a Laker fan, watched him last year. He's that good. And you look at Kevin Huerter and the things that he's been able to do. I remember when he was picking up steam in Atlanta, this is probably his best season yet. So, it's a team that just has so much, and I just understand that if people are taking them lightly, thinking they're going to roll over or something like that, nah. Just because they're wearing Kings on their shirt and people are used to Sacramento not being very good, that doesn't mean much at all, because they could be wearing any uniform. They could be the Knicks, and you take them a lot more seriously. They could be the Lakers, you take them a lot more seriously. It's that kind of thing. So I know this team is for real, and that beam motivation, that whole gimmick, so to speak, I think it works. I think it motivates those players to want to win even more. And so, yeah, I'm ready to see some playoff basketball. Obviously, we're seeing teams fight for their playoff lives in the Western Conference. We're seeing it now, but just in general, I'm ready to see some of these teams strategize against one another and see which ones are healthy enough to make it through the season. Because right now, it looks like the West is hobbling into it. And I'm just curious to see how the East is going to start shaping up as well. They have a bit more parity over there in the East. Certain teams know exactly where they're going to be um, or have a good understanding if they're stuck somewhere, particularly the Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. There isn't really much room for them to move unless they go on something extreme. So, um, it's gonna be interesting to see. It's gonna be very interesting to see. I don't think we quite know who's ready to make it yet. I think the tail would be health. At this point, I really believe it's health. Um, Golden State, teams like Dallas, uh, I really don't believe in, man. I just mentioned two teams right there that I do not believe in. I know Golden State has the truth in regards to the shooting ability and the championship glory that they've experienced, but when it comes to some of those players on that bench, in my opinion, they're just not going to be good enough, man. It's going to really come down to their bench and them having to utilize their starters a little too much in order to try to get through some of these series. They're just going to wear down. They don't have the depth. Um, Memphis, it looks like they're just by default out of the way. Although, with Ja Morant coming back in 4 days, and we didn't even discuss it, but Ja Morant, of course, had a situation um, worked out for him in regards to the Colorado police. They will not be further pressing charges in regards to whatever took place in the strip club out there. So, as far as I can tell, he's coming back at some point. The thing about it is they say he'll be back within 4 games. I still think there's more things for the NBA to consider that they probably are considering and for him, that might not mean he will be staying after he comes back. There may be a situation where they bring him back and then say, you know what, you suspended again because we found something else. And since there's been so many different incidents, um, I do believe that there's a chance that that might be something like what we see there. But nevertheless, did get some more news on the Memphis Grizzlies. They had a setback with their center, Steven Adams. I guess he had some type of injection in the knee that's going to have him sit out for an extra couple weeks. So, things are happening. Of course, we already know about Brandon Clark. So these are the things that I'm saying that I think are going to tell the story. Now, obviously, as somebody who just watched Ja Morant play one of his best games of the season against us, I know him coming back probably extra motivated to play well does not bode well for his opponents. But I don't think it's really going to be on him in regards to how they win. Sort of like I say about the Los Angeles Lakers. I think the same in regards to Memphis and Ja. He provides a lot of what they do in regards to scoring and continuity, assists. Sometimes he can rebound very well, and he just runs the score up quite a bit. But at the end of the day, that's not how they win. They win with their interior defense, and they win perimeter defense, and they ultimately win by scoring in the paint. And that's what I understand about the Memphis Grizzlies. And it requires them to have a combination of forwards, usually Brandon Clark included, and Steven Adams, obviously at the center spot with Jaren Jackson, Tillman. They together give them enough strength to back Ja's play. If those guys start getting removed from the lineup, it's harder for them to win. And so that's what I understand about their team. I just think that Ja's going to be able to win games for them. They're going to be dangerous, but they're not contenders without Brandon Clark and Steven Adams down there. They're just not. It puts too much pressure on Jaren Jackson, Tillman, and then from there they're a bit thin. And I think that's why ultimately they're going to be in trouble, whether Ja's there or not. But that's really what I see there. LeBron James, as I said, just in the comparison, him coming back, he's going to provide an extra bit of really everything. Obviously, continuity, another playmaker, a rebounder, and someone who's going to obviously score at will. But there are certain things that LeBron James does that doesn't really cater to winning, and that's why we don't ultimately find ourselves being successful with just him and a bunch of guys that can't really go. It's now about Anthony Davis, Vanderbilt, the combination of guys that we're using with length that give us the opportunity to be who we are in ways that win, help us win games. And so that's what I'm saying. It's like Ja, I don't think is the difference between Memphis winning and losing most nights. But they need him in the playoffs, nevertheless, in order to win series. But he's not the difference. LeBron, same thing, not the difference. For this roster as it's now currently constructed, it's about the length, it's about Anthony Davis, and it's about how many of those weapons we got on the floor that we can utilize properly since we have so many of them. And so I look at all these teams and I say the deepest teams to me are the ones that are probably going to succeed because they can withstand either injury or going to be able to stay healthy. Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Lakers look pretty good to me. The Denver Nuggets, I don't think they're deep, you guys. I don't think the Denver Nuggets are deep. What I think the Denver Nuggets are far ahead of everybody else because they benefited greatly from the fact that the league, the Western Conference, was a different conference to start the season. And that's what I think. I actually think they're a nice contender, but I don't know that they're much better than us. Phoenix fully healthy, Memphis fully healthy, although they won't be going forward. Like I don't think Denver is as good as everybody believes they are. They're gonna have to prove that to me. When I look on the back of that bench, some of the players that they got, and some of the decisions that they made with their roster, I just know they're gonna run thin too, and they're leaning on players to stay healthy. They've never proven they can stay healthy. You know, Jamal Murray, Porter. You expect those guys to stay healthy going forward for the rest of this season? I hope so for their sake, but it's going to be incumbent upon them too. And I just know better. I know the Denver Nuggets are a heck of a team with Nikola Jokic. He's going to likely be healthy. He's the MVP of this season. I think so. And you're just going to see a situation where if they're able to do damage, it's going to be incumbent upon them to lean on their top 7 to 8 guys. Gordon staying healthy, KCP staying healthy. Bruce Brown has struggled lately, but they're going to need him to pick it up and play well. Reggie Jackson struggled lately, but he's going to have to play well. These are the type of things like, I know of Thomas Bryant and what he can do offensively. How much playing time does he get? Do they get the most out of him? He's not defending. These are the type of things I already understand. So it's like, is Denver the top of the class in the Western Conference? Yes. If we started the season over today, would they be at the top of the class of the Western Conference? Probably not. Probably not. Not if the season started over. No. They'd be amongst the top 3, but they wouldn't be the number 1 team. They just were able to benefit from everybody sucking early in the season. That's what I honestly think. And we're going to see how it plays out over the rest of the... If what my theories is over the rest of the season, you're going to see them come back a little bit. They're going to pull back because you're going to see that strength go up against them depending on their schedule, for which I haven't seen. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think Denver is as good as they are, but I think the field has gotten significantly better. That's what I'm saying to you. And I look at Sacramento right behind them, and I say I think Sacramento might be slightly more deep. Again, we talk about the depth of Sacramento. I think they have more depth. So we'll see how it plays out, man. I'm the same guy that thought Portland was going to really do damage, but right now it just looks like they have no chance with some of the teams surrounding them, including us, getting so much better and them losing games. I thought Simons was going to be back and ready to play. He wasn't available against the Boston Celtics. I think that really hurt them. So I had him having a big to do with what happens going forward, and with him not being available consistently, that just throws my whole Portland thesis off in regards to them trying to build their way back into it and make the playoffs. I just don't think they have a chance to. But their roster, had the season start over again, I think they could actually be a contender, considering how they're constructed, depending on how healthy they can be, just like everybody else. But Dame is having one of those seasons. He's one of those guys. He's healthy, so if he can string together some good games, and if they can get Simons back, maybe they can make a push. I don't think Utah is going to try to make the playoffs going forward. It's another team down here I don't think is going to try as well. So maybe they can slip in there. Like I said, Dallas I think could slip dramatically if Luka's out. You know what I mean? So these are things to take a look at. If Golden State can't string together some road wins, they're going to fall too. So, I read somewhere, I don't remember who it was I was looking at. It was a comment, and someone had said a bunch of stuff, and they said Golden State is fighting to get into the play-in tournament. And a lot of people corrected them in the comment section, but when I considered, I'm like, they actually are in the grand scheme of things, even though the last I checked, they were like in 7th place. Everybody in this stream of teams between 6 and 13 are basically fighting to get in the play-in tournament as of right now. The other team I think will fall out is probably OKC. Because those teams just don't benefit too much from making the playoffs and getting bounced in the first round as they would be from getting a lottery pick and a chance at a Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson or somebody like that. So for me, I just see those two teams slipping right out, and maybe even Portland as well, thinking the same thing. But Dame's timeline, maybe not. But those two teams are young. They're probably going to move on from that. fight that playoff hunt. So other teams will slip in, and I look at Golden State and I say, man, if they're for real, if those road woes are going to continue throughout the rest of this season, there's a legitimate chance they're going to be the team that's left out too. Like out of the play-in tournament, because you just can't keep losing the way they're losing. And I don't know what it is. No one else can even make any sense of it. I listen to Draymond Green. He can't make any sense of it. So far be it from me to be able to. But there are things to look at in regards to the chemistry. You can't go around socking people, have it being seen on camera, and then think the season's going to play all smooth. I mean, if anything I see there is probably a lack of trust. You go on the road, you're not at home, you don't sleep on your own bed, and those type of things. You got to sleep in hotels. It probably speaks to the lack of continuity that they have in those hotels and things like that they don't come together and communicate as much on the road or have any belief in one another when they're away from their comfortable habitat. So to me, it's like, that's probably where the problem is, bro. You knocked dude smooth in the face, and we all saw it. And I think that's having a reverberating effect on everything, Draymond. I really do. Listening to him, what he was saying the biggest regret he had was allowing people to believe that they were right in saying that he couldn't keep his temper. I understand that, particularly in the ejection when he had kicked LeBron and gotten himself thrown out of the finals game. But my thing is, no, from where I'm sitting, the worst thing that he did was hit Jordan Poole. that was the thing that I think was most regrettable, because at the end of the day, that took away people's willingness to see him without thinking about whether or not he's actually like that. And that's a situation that keeps people wondering if they got to defend themselves against you, even when it doesn't make any sense to do so, because that's what it looked like he was doing, approaching homie, getting in his face, and then proceeding to attack him. And so however that works in the locker room, it's definitely not something that should have been seen. And because it was seen, the trust within the organization was fractured. And that, I think, is also what you're looking at in regards to the team not performing. I think that's obvious. You can't trust who's in where if they're going to let the team be seen in this light. And so I just don't think it works. And then plus, I've already said about Golden State, they haven't developed players correctly. They're leaving a lot of production on the table with Moses Moody by not using him. It just makes no sense. They got guys who are not as good as him playing ahead of him. It's just not going to work for you. You let, the same thing happened with Wiseman. You gave up on him too soon, obviously. See what he's doing in Detroit. He's going to be just fine. So these are the things the Warriors have done as an organization. They've prioritized players that can't help them as much, just like a lot of teams do around the league. And you're seeing a reflection of that, too. They've leaned on the wrong people a lot of the time throughout the process of them trying to get through these injuries. Through this situation. So I've been one to second guess Steve Kerr, even though he's won all the championships in the world. I've been one to second guess some things like this. Back in the playoffs, I said a few things about him. I thought maybe he was kind of going with the mantra and the overall image of the Golden State Warriors instead of leaning on the players who actually would help him win. He ended up turning his attention to those players, and they ended up helping him win those games. So he made the adjustment, but the point is that I just think that that's kind of along the lines of what we're seeing. And maybe there's a science to it. Maybe there's a science to why he does it that way. But I know for a fact Moses Moody, if he was the person that they drafted him to be, right now they'd be a much better team. That would be an extra 20 points on the board, 40% three-point shooter or something. So I think that's where they've gone wrong in their player development. They should have given much more attention to continuing that process, since they did such a good job while Clay and Steph were down for a year or so. So, yeah, man, organizational decisions, not developing players, and leaning too much on old guys to last too damn long. The Golden State Warriors are in a place where I don't think they can get through the Western Conference anymore, because they're just getting a little too old, and the chemistry is fractured a little too much. But time will tell. We'll see. Steph Curry can mask a lot of things with his abilities. So can Klay Thompson, especially when he's healthy. He hasn't been as healthy since he got hurt with KD that day. This is as healthy as he's been. So that makes those two, the Splash Brothers particularly, more dangerous than usual. But with that being said, just like I said about other aspects of other teams, if you don't have those players in the paint that are healthy and going to work and doing all those things that you need them to do, it's going to be more difficult to kind of win games when you're rendered to just shooting threes like those three ultimately do. Draymond and Kuminga, who stepped forward playing well, a lot of what has to happen there is going to be on those guys. It's going to be on their bigs to make things align in that way against some of these other teams that have bigs as well, as we've already mentioned. So, you know, that's it. That's what it comes down to. Wiggins, where is he at? You know, is he going to be back anytime soon? The situations is personal, so you don't know where he's going to be come playoff time, or if his situation is where it needs to be for him to come back sooner. So I don't like GS Dub, man. I don't like them. I don't like them right now. They look very, very dangerous in terms of falling out of the playoffs. Not dangerous toward anyone else, but to themselves. So these are things I'm looking at, man. You know, I keep thinking about the Clippers, and I say they've been in a little weird spot, but the synergy with Russell Westbrook is going to start coming. I know it. Before the end of the season, he's going to continue to work his way into being a bigger and bigger player for them. They're going to figure him out a little better, and I think it's going to translate to them being a more dangerous team if they don't misuse him. You know, I do think they're going to get better. I think the West is opening up for all of us, and I don't think they're going to fall. They're going to bottom out. I don't think they're going to bottom out. And you know why I think of that? Because I think I've been underrating Zubac. I haven't looked at him as somebody that would be viable as in the paint, as I know deep down he probably can be. He's had 2020 games, and if they can find that type of confidence from Ivica Zubac, I'm pretty certain they will be better than I'm anticipating them be. It's on him. Legitimately, it's on him. He's going to have to step up and be big on both ends of the floor. And if he can do that, I think the Clippers can be much better, or whatever it is people think they're going to be. I'm not saying they live and die with Zubac, but he's the guy, in my opinion, to where if they overachieve, it's going to be because he overachieved. If they don't get too far, it's probably because he didn't do enough, in my opinion, to overcome some of these bigs that I'm saying are so prevalent out there. He has to stand tall against Jaren Jackson, Jokic, and whoever they see, AD. He's going to have to stand tall against those players. And if he's able to, that's when the Clippers can really make noise. But if he has trouble, I just think they're going to be too small, man. That's what it really comes down. They're going to be too small. I know they got Plumlee back there, but I don't think he's really the answer there. So it's going to be on Zubac having him 18 rebound games, 15 rebound games, 25-point games. And they're going to have to feed him a lot, in my humble opinion, and then rotate around him. Paul George and Kawhi are always going to eat. But if they can't establish that paint on both sides of the floor and particularly keep people out of there, they're not going nowhere. So that's what I think about the Clippers. But I have increased my thinking in regards to them being better, because I'm just starting to discover that I have a lot more faith in Ivica than I've been thinking about lately. He's better than that. So yeah, he's gonna have to play better than ever if the Clippers gonna try to win seriously. That's what it really comes down to, because the rest of their team, I just don't love all those pieces. I really don't. Eric Gordon, he's going to have to get in shape. Bottom line, that's what it is. Eric Gordon needs to get in shape, and they're going to have to commit to playing some of these young dudes. Anybody who's been paying attention to the Clippers for about 3 years knows that Amir Coffey can play. He should not be buried in the back of nobody's bench in this stage in his career. He's had too many big games to be buried behind anybody, man. I'm sorry. I know this. I've seen it with my own eyes. Amir Coffey can ball. He needs to be playing. Terrence Mann, he gets his minutes here and there, but he needs more of them. Probably should be starting. At this point, call me crazy, but I thought the Clippers would have both of those players either in their starting lineup by now, or their first guys off the bench playing big minutes. I just don't love how the NBA utilizes young players, man. Just as a whole, it ain't just the Clippers. It's pretty much everybody. They just don't prioritize these guys properly because they're trying to keep other guys like Eric Gordon hanging around, and no disrespect, but those guys are more capable at this point. And you just got to let those guys make you the money. So that is my opinion. I think I've had enough. I got to go get my food out of the oven and eat it. And that's what I have to say to you guys. I hope you've enjoyed my NBA chat video for this moment. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.